Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Girl, Why You Still Single? It's your host Dion, and this week's topic is called Purpose Over Pleasure. So I chose this topic this week because for, I would say, the past month, I feel like I have been going nonstop between the release of my podcast, keeping up with, everyday things at work, studying, still trying to connect with God through my reading of the Word, and definitely trying to maintain and keep consistent with getting my daily steps in. I just feel like my life has shifted to a fast mode. So this past weekend, I was able to take a break from work, and I took off for 5 days. And I wanted to take this time to just detox. Detox from the world, detox from work, detox from people in general. I turned my phone off. I put my phone on silent and I sat poolside with a very nice beverage. I used this time to do some self-reflecting and some soul searching. So I found myself reflecting back on this one particular post that I posted back in early 2019, I believe. And this was almost 1 year after I got saved. And the post read, "Dear girl who sees her friends getting engaged, married, pregnant, moving into her first home, posting pics with her man, and you feel like you're doing something wrong. Stop. Their season isn't your season. God hasn't forsaken you. Comparison is a thief of joy. What and whom God has for me is for me." And I allowed that thing to resonate in my mind. And every time I think about that post, I don't necessarily think about the things that I wanted at that particular moment. I think about what state of mind I was in. And I thought about how my wants are totally different now than they were then. See, at that moment in my life, I was in a place where I wanted something different. I wanted to be able to tell a different story. But I realized that was my reality. I was, I believe, 35 at the time. And, I wasn't in a relationship. I didn't have any kids, and I was really just focused on, living day to day, trying to maintain a place of stability. And at that point, I felt stuck. How many of you feel you are stuck without answers and most importantly, without purpose? You feel like you don't have a purpose in this lifetime. This is why I think it's important for us to slow down while doing life. Because if we don't be careful, life will take off, and one day we'll look up singing our coulda, woulda, shouldas. This brings me directly back to why I named this week's episode Purpose Over Pleasure. Although none of those circumstances changed from then to now, I'm still not married. I still don't have any kids. I still don't have no man. I'm still in that I'm still not able to tell those type of stories yet. But the biggest difference is my mindset. I'm no longer focused on the materialistic things, nor am I even focused on, at this point, finding a husband. At one point, God was able to refocus my attention. Now, I'm not saying that I don't have fun. I'm saying that I no longer live for the weekends. And I'm talking about I can't wait until Friday to get here so I can enjoy my Saturday and my Sunday off. I don't necessarily live to get to the weekends to have fun. I'd rather wake up and live in that moment and be happy and joyful in those moments every day, not just on the weekends. So I know some of you are probably asking, so what changed for you? What allowed you to start thinking differently? And the answer to that is I started to look for my purpose in my everyday routine. And one of the first places where I felt like I needed to find purpose was the place where I spent most of my time. And that was at Walgreens. Now, to this day, I have been working for Walgreens for a little over 12 years. And I had got to a place where I always wanted to be on vacation. I'm like, girl, you can't always be on vacation. You have to work. So I kept asking myself, why don't I necessarily like my job? It wasn't the fact that I wasn't, making good money. It was just the fact that I didn't want to have to go into work dealing with people all the time. I was either dealing with customers or I was dealing with my team members. And I just wanted a break. Not just, on my off days. I wanted a break every day. I asked God, why after 10 years am I still at Walgreens? And he began to put me in different situations that confirmed that I needed to be there. And most of those conversations led to us speaking about God and how God has led them to those particular moments. For me, I realized God put me in a position to provide opportunities for people. I would sit in interviews with applicants, mainly like college students and freshly graduated high school students. And I used to ask myself, what type of advice would I give myself at that age? And I try to show up for those applicants the same way I wanted somebody to show up for me. So that made me start to be more intentional about the conversations I was having with not only the people I interviewed with, but daily conversations with my coworkers, with my direct reports, and even with the customers. So every morning before I got in my car, I would say a prayer. And it would just be a basic prayer asking God to use me in the uplifting of his kingdom. And then, I would ask for patience because I found myself getting frustrated a lot at work. So I started asking for patience. What use would I be if I told everyone I was a Christian but acted differently? See, in James 2:17, it states that faith without works is dead. How I have grown to understand this Bible verse is that how we live reveals what we believe and whether the faith we profess to have is a living faith. So this week, I would like to leave you all with a question. How are you choosing purpose over pleasure? How are you choosing purpose over pleasure? Or is it easier to say that you choose pleasure over purpose? All right, fam. Until next time, let's remember to be intentional about living in our singleness.